Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Feeling and Healing podcast. Today, I am so happy to welcome Karyn Spetz. She is a relationship coach and she specializes in helping women who feel like they've been carrying all the weight in their relationship to guide them to break free from people pleasing and to build their self-confidence and learn effective communication skills. She also has a background in as a social worker. So, welcome, Karyn.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise. So I know your kind of expertise is in relationships and you introduced me the first time we spoke to Terry Real and his relational life therapy.
hmm
Could you just explain just a brief and we'll get into it more. What are kind of the a little bit differences between his approach in relational life therapy and then just regular like psychotherapy, couples therapy that like probably majority of the population has been exposed to?
Yeah. And to be honest, most of my training, and by most, I mean like almost all of my training has been in relational life therapy. So I haven't done a lot
Amazing.
of, yeah, that's just really where I'm focused and, the modality I work from when I work with people. So I've had like I know some things about traditional,
Yeah.
psychotherapy or other modalities. But what I can say about relational life therapy is it really, really embraces this. It's not me versus you, but it's, us together. And I'll
Mm,
I'll talk about that a lot. It's you guys sitting in one side of the room, looking at a problem. How are you gonna manage this together?
mm,
And it works in, three different phases. And it's a very effective way of working with couples. And also, I have found, and most of the work that I do actually is with individuals, women,
oh,
like you said. Yeah. And so I've also taken this RLT, training and the modality that that's what I work under is and brought that into my individual work as well, which is very effective.
yeah. Could you maybe just tell me a little bit more about that? Like, how, I mean, let's say like I come to you and I'm struggling, like, maybe like I'll use a coping mechanism, an unhealthy one. And like maybe like just like people pleasing. Like I'm always going above and beyond for everybody and I'm exhausted and I just what would I guess like how would you approach that as an individual to have them I guess like kind of reframe that and then potentially start a behavior change?
Yeah. So the first thing I always want to do when I'm working with someone is to learn, what the problem is that this person is experiencing, how it's impacting their life. And then I really do go into the history and the family of origin and, when did all of this
Yes,
start? A lot of the coping mechanisms that we have as adults, we actually learned as children. So we do,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's just right there, right? We learn everything we know about relationships growing up, and then we
Mhm.
add on information as we get older through our new experiences.
Yep.
So we're going to look at, when did this start? What was going on? What were you adapting to? How did
Hmm.
it protect you? How did it keep you safe? And then how is it impacting your life and your relationships today?
Yep.
And so people pleasing is a great one. I see this a lot. I'm a recovering people pleaser myself.
I
So
feel like I'm like almost, I wouldn't say recovering people pleaser. I would say like I'm on my way to be a recovering people
yeah.
pleaser.
Yeah, I mean it's and like anything, we still have those like just immediate responses,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
and we just learn how to deal with them differently.
Absolutely. For
Yeah. And
sure.
so what I always tell people, whatever it is, whatever the thing is that they're, dealing with or struggling with, I want it to be less frequent, less intense, and I want you to recover more quickly.
For
So
sure.
yeah, like getting rid of the thing, that's just not going to happen. Like you
Yeah,
can
right? Like,
Yeah, like
yeah,
it's always going to be there, like lingering.
for
Um,
sure.
so yeah, we look at then like how that's impacting you individually today, how that's impacting your relationships. And a lot of the people that I work with, they will come to me for individual work because their partner won't
Mm.
do couples, which I see
Oh,
a
interesting.
lot. Yeah, and that's actually how I came to work, with individuals as, the majority of the people that I work with, just because there was just this influx of women reaching out to me for this. So, and then once we can see where that impact is, then we can, move on to like, okay, so what do we want to do differently?
Hmm.
And in that process, we're talking about your nervous system.
Absolutely.
How to regulate yourself. That's a huge piece of RLT and the work that I do with people. I'm also talking to people about, healthy boundaries and of course communication. And so it's kind of this, we go through this process, where did it begin? How is it impacting you now? And what do we want to do differently?
Absolutely. And I think one of the main things that I found, and thank you for sharing that because I was very, I'm so unlike you, I'm very traditionally trained in family therapy, and I can't tell you how many models there are. There are a lot.
Yeah, a ton.
Um, but they tell us, since because I'm in school right now, second year, they tell us pick one, master that one, and then of course you can bring in other things from other models. But similar to relational life therapy, it does a lot of focus on family of origin,
Hmm.
and relational work. And I love that you brought up, because I actually saw something recently that specifically with relationships, that when looking at, because like at like partners, like they always say, right, like, or the age old saying is like, oh, look how a man treats his mother or how a woman treats their father, and that's how they'll be in a relationship. And I saw something recently that's like, no, look at how their family system, how the mother and the father, what that relationship was like, that's the model. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, like, because of course, like, parent and child relationships are much
Yeah.
different than, but that's what the model we see out in the, as you said, when we're brought up. And that's
Yeah.
what we deem as healthy. And um
Yeah.
that's why, I mean, I don't like to family blame or like, but I'm like, you can't, it's hard when you're in relationships to not go there because that's how we're trained to, that's what we see in the world. That's the first experience we have with relationships is that within our initial nuclear family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're going to learn, you know, what can I expect from a relationship? What do people expect from me? Like, what does
Mhm.
communication look like? What do I do when I'm having a good day? What do I do when I'm having a bad day? I mean, we learn all of this stuff so young and early. And then unless we replace it with something else as we get older, and so many of us don't because we don't even realize there's a problem. This is
Mm.
just what's normal. This is what we do. What's the problem? Everybody's like this. This is just how it works. You don't know necessarily that you need to replace those skills that aren't working for you as an adult with something
Yeah.
new. Yeah. And so yeah, that's where you find yourself. And just to kind of I want to make sure I mention this because even though a
Yeah.
lot of the work that I do is individuals, I
Yeah.
still approach it from a very relational standpoint. So if I'm working with someone and she's like, I don't know what to do, I don't know if this relationship is going to work, I don't know if I want to stay or if I want to go, I'm
Hmm.
still approaching it from if you stay, this is what it's going to look like in a relational way. And if you go, this is what it could look like, still being relational, because I want people to have a good relationship with themselves and the
Hmm.
person that they're with. And I don't do this like individual empowerment.
Mm.
I'm very rarely gonna, I mean, if ever gonna be like, well, I can't believe you're putting up with that. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to individually empower someone. I want to empower that person as an individual to be more relational with their partner, if
I
that's,
love that. No,
yeah.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I love that because I always say, because I being a relational therapist, a marriage and family that's all what we are. I always say I love that you brought up the relationship with yourself because I feel we live in a society that is very like, I would say, like, I mean, I think with most things, we what's the word I'm trying to think? Not glamorize, but we put a lot of emphasis on our external relationships, our
Hmm.
spouses, partners, friends, but
Yeah.
we really don't tell people look within, look at yourself,
Yeah.
like form that relationship first. Because I always say you spend more time with you than anybody else in the world. Like, yeah, you could
Yeah.
have a partner and live with them, of course, and but I'm like, you're with you
All
100%
the
of
time.
every day of your life, you know?
Right. Yeah. Start
So
there.
get to know yourself. And if you have like a healthy, if you try as much as you can, like have a healthy relationship with yourself, that'll then set a really nice, healthy tone for the rest of your relationships. Because I know for me personally, and I know you brought up this up, and I love that you brought up like nervous system
Hmm.
regulation and stuff like that, because I've noticed if, and I'm sure you have too in your work, our lives and nervous systems and everything are based off of patterns, and I feel like they're very cyclical. So if you see a pattern in your life, especially they come up a lot with relationships,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you have to like change your whole self. It's just like like notice that pattern and be like, huh, why is this showing up in my life?
Yeah.
And how do I maybe look at it differently? Or if you want to change the pattern, because if you don't, but what they say, if you don't repair it, it repeats. Not saying all patterns
Yeah.
are bad, but
Yeah.
being aware of those patterns has helped me in my um relationships, just to make them more connected and just healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really interesting and important is that even if your current behavior that you're in or you're part of, that pattern, because every dynamic takes two people, right? Like, so
Hmm.
whatever your part of that is, if that's your normal, good or bad, your
Yes.
nervous system is going to feel better there than doing
Yep.
something different that might be healthier or, more effective or just better for you and your relationship. If it's new and different, your nervous system's going to be like, I don't know what to do here. I have no idea what's on the
Hmm.
other side of that. I'm going to stick to this thing. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know how to take care of myself. I know what to expect.
Yep.
So it really is work to learn these new skills. It's not just like, oh, here you go, try this. And then it's like, oh, good. Now we've got that in our pocket. We're good to go. It takes time to really get comfortable and that relationship with yourself, like you said, it's so important. It's really vital to the work.
Absolutely. And that, yeah, like, I mean, I'll go back to even just my personal experience. What you just said is spot on, that your nervous system and your body and your brain will go towards what's familiar, even if it's dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So think about somebody perhaps who I'm just like, and this isn't my story, but who maybe perhaps like grew up with their parents where they were maybe like verbally abusive to one
Mhm.
another. And like to them, like, yes, of course, that's traumatic, that's awful, but that's their normal.
Right.
So, so when they get into a relationship with somebody and maybe this person had a totally different lived experience, and,
Yeah.
like that's where you see those kind of conflicts, because like, even though that is deemed, maybe perhaps unhealthy, that is that person's, baseline.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's what they know, and you can't blame them for that. But that's just the product of what their system has showed them. But
Yeah.
and that's why, and as you said, it is very difficult to make that, and like even healthy sometimes feels just uncomfortable because of
Very uncomfortable.
because some people have just been unfortunately exposed to whatever situation, and that's what their body and their brain and their nervous system is used to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it really is, learning these new relationship skills. It's just, I always explain to people like you've got this pathway in your brain and it's just
Hmm.
totally cleared out. It's so easy to use. It's instinctive. You don't need to think about it. When you're learning something new, it's like you're going through the forest and you have to like hack out this new
Yep.
path. And the second you go somewhere else, it's going to grow back in. You got to start over and you've got to work on it some more. And it is work to do that. But the more you work on this new path in your brain, the easier it gets. And then the interesting thing is the harder it gets to go back over to this old one, the more you work on the new one. So it's, and, Terry says this in RLT, like it's not day to day, it's moment to moment. Like, which choice
Mm.
are you making? Like, I always say, are you going left or are you going right? So,
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, because you're right. Because if you, but the more you, go that new path, like, yes, it's going to be hard at first to, as you said, chop down the trees and
Mhm.
really, but like once you keep walking it, it becomes like a well-worn path,
Yeah.
and I know just the little that I'm not an expert on the brain, but of course, that what you're describing is neuroplasticity. I mean, we
Mhm.
we have. As much as our brains are sometimes, I feel, they're so amazing. They're an amazing muscle, but sometimes I feel that they're a little primitive. And I know like our brains are wired to keep us safe. They're not wired for us to like thrive and
Right.
even though that's where a lot of our creativity of course come like they're very multifaceted. It's a multifaceted muscle, but I just know in general
Yeah.
we have these default settings like it's wired to keep us safe. We have a negativity bias with our
Yeah.
brain, so it's like that's why when you say like choose left or choose right, it's like, and that's why I feel personally that like dialectical behavioral therapy, lots of aspects of
Mhm.
CBT are
Yeah.
affirmation based. It's like rewiring your brain with words.
Yeah.
And if you, I know it's like people are like, but like it really, it works. I mean, there wouldn't be
Yeah.
models of therapy based around this if it didn't work.
Yeah.
And even in like as I said, like if you can go negative or positive, always try to go positive. And it's not trying to, suppress feelings or to not
Right.
see somebody. It's just you're trying to wire your brain to be, that to be your new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, like I don't want, and I say this to people a lot. If you're being treated in a way or if you're uncomfortable with something, like I definitely want you to speak up about it. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
I want you to feel empowered to talk to your partner or whoever about what's not working for you and what you would like different instead. So that's really important. And a lot of times, though, in order to be able to do that, you've got to be able to go, oh, okay, I can do this and really
Yeah.
like talk yourself through it because it can be hard if that's not what you're used to.
Yeah, and something going back to, what you just said, and I found in relationships especially, you can only go as far as deep with somebody as like you know yourself
Mhm.
and as they know themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'll edit that out. I apologize. Yeah, so it's I found, and this is just like for me and my work, like in my friendships, and I don't, it's not like I'm going to friendship therapy, which I mean, hey, you never know. Maybe one day it'll be a thing. Like, like friends going to therapy.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that in my life as a client. I mean, I don't, or like, or as a therapist, I've never, but like, hey, you never know. Somebody could want to come to therapy with their friend, who knows?
It's
Or
true.
like their best friend. I mean, I guess that would be kind of like a couple. Anyway, sorry. I'm like that would be very interesting. But well, sorry, I apologize. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, forgive me, I just lost my thought. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. You were talking about relationships. Oh yeah, we can only go. So like I found in my personal relationships that like I have to kind of like I'm a very deep person.
Mhm.
I'm like an ocean. I like my little quirks, like every little nuance, I pretty much like I know myself pretty well. And of course I'm always growing and always changing, so I want
Yeah.
to be, aware of my like growth as well. But I've noticed that like not everybody can go as deep as me, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
like to not go like I can't like once I start going on the deep end with somebody, I'm like, all right, Danielle, you kind of have to rein it back because like they're not comfortable
Not
they're
everybody
not
can go there.
comfortable there. Like you're like all right, like all right, stop talking about that. Like just keep it here, you know?
Yeah, 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 and that's true. And that's something just to, I think, be aware of.
Hmm.
And even with your partner, you may not have the same, want to speak as deeply or to have, some people can sit and have a conversation for like 2 hours, and some people are like,
I
I
know
don't know,
they're like that's too much for me.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, you can get around all of those differences if it's something that both people want to do.
Yeah.
So, that's an okay thing, but there has to be at least some ability to have some amount of communication about all of the things that are going to come up in your relationship. And that is really a lot of the work that I do with people individually is, I always say like it is more work to do it individually because you're kind of bringing stuff into your relationship and seeing if it's going to stick. Um,
Mhm.
but you have to be able to get something from your partner there because if you're
Mhm.
not fulfilled and it's in too many different areas. Like there are some things I can overlook, be like, well, I don't get this from my husband, maybe, but I get all this other stuff. So it's really okay. But you have to be able to get enough from your partner that you do feel comfortable, you do feel fulfilled, and like you can show up genuinely and be yourself and have your needs met, in a way that works for you.
I have and this is like maybe like an off the cuff question because I ask myself this a lot because I feel I will, and I'll share, everybody knows this. Like I'm single, I'm in my late 30s. Of course, I'm like dating, which is, is an experience, let me tell you. And
Yeah,
let me tell,
right
and
here.
that's a whole other like podcast there
Yeah.
for like me to vent about my experiences in dating. I like, or I don't know, maybe it's a book, who knows? But
Yeah.
um, I feel, and I don't know if you have the same view or work with your clients on, and maybe this is just something that they walk in and tell you their expectations, but my expectation in a partner, like a couple or a future partner or husband, is that like they're gonna fill most of my cup, but like they don't need to fill like they don't need to check off every single box. Like that's why I have multiple relationships. Like I will say, like I have some relationships where like I can do everything with this person. Like I can cry with this person, I can laugh with this person. But then there are definitely some where I'm like, yeah, like these are kind of just like, not to say like the acquaintances, but like I can't, as I said, I can't go that deep with them. Like
Yeah.
I can't have that 2 hour conversation. Like I know their limits, and that's okay. And I just
Yeah.
put them in a different like section in my like little bag or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, like these are just like my like kind of like lighthearted, more like lighthearted friendships.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know if that's an expectation when you were talking about, how you have to bring back things into the relationship. Like, do you find that people are coming to you and they're because I honestly think it's an unrealistic expectation for one person to like fill every one of your cups. Like
Yeah.
like that we're people.
Yeah, it's unrealistic and because, mostly just because like it's never actually going to happen.
No, it's not yet.
You
It's like
know.
it's girl, yeah.
Yeah, if somebody was going to fill
It's
all of your
impossible.
cups, yeah,
Yeah.
you'd be dating yourself, like you're
Yeah.
the only person
I love it.
that is going to fill all your cups, right? And so how you do that is what makes a difference. And yes, you should get a lot from your partner, but not everything. You should have
Yeah.
other places that you go and things you do by yourself and things you do with other
Yep.
people. And yeah, there has to be a mix of all of that because your partner can't give you everything.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I will say too, like, wouldn't it, like, I mean, I get it, like, too, like, some couples they claim are like, of course, like, I don't judge here. They're like, oh, yeah, we're best friends. Like, we don't want to be apart. And I'm like, that's wonderful. Like, I love that. But you also, too, I feel like most healthy relationships, you do want like, you do want to miss each other at some points. Like, I
Yeah.
think I've read somewhere, this was back in the day, that like when you're a couple and you go to a dinner party, they say, don't sit by each other, like sit
Oh,
like because when you go home on the car ride home, like you want something to be like, oh, this person said, like you don't want to
yeah.
be together all the time because it gets
Yeah.
a little suffocating, and you want to bring new things to the relationship and new perspectives and new experiences. So I personally think it's healthy to have, not all the time, like that, them were, but like to have like separate
Outside interests and
hobbies, yeah,
things like that.
interests. Yeah, like it would be kind of boring if you're like all the same all the time, and that
Yeah.
person, you would just agree with them all the time and they just agree with you all the time. And like,
Yeah.
and that's another thing too I would love to bring up is that actually I was having a conversation with my friend about this yesterday, that I feel that like conflict, I think we have another that's another thing in the society that like, oh, conflict is bad. Like, no, conflict is not, it just shows you things about your relationship. It's not bad or good.
Right.
It's just there. And then how you decide to work with it or not is your decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every relationship, I was going to say every couple, but honestly, every relationship is going to go through, periods of harmony, disharmony, and repair.
Yeah.
And it's what you do with that that matters. So it's very normal to have disagreements, fights. Like I don't want anybody to be doing like knockdown, drag out fights, but you're going to
Yeah, yeah,
disagree.
but
There's going to be tension. You're going to have to
yeah.
get through difficult stuff. Can you do that? Or does somebody shut down and not want to talk about it? Or does it escalate to the point that you both shut down and then there's never any repair on the other side? That's really what I see a lot is, one of those or a combination of, in different ways. So it is really important. It will absolutely happen. If I'm working with someone, we're like, oh, we don't fight. I'm like,
Yeah, you're like,
who's not talking? because, somebody's upset about something. Somebody has, or they, sometimes people have really good, healthy communication. So that's good too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's usually when that happens is like, oh no, we talk about things as we come up. They just don't turn into really big things
Uh,
like hashtag goals. That's awesome,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean it's very normal to disagree. Every couple you're gonna have different opinions. You're
Of course.
gonna approach things, and even, friendships, siblings, whatever that is, you're
Oh yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna disagree.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean, I always say too to people, like, we're human. Like, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's like I'm sure I don't know if you get this a lot, but I get this a lot. Like being a coach and a therapist, they'll be like I'll like let's say like I maybe react to something instead of like, taking my time to respond and like nothing
Mhm.
big, but they'll be like, Danielle, but like you're a therapist. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also like a
Like
human
human
being.
being.
Like like I have like
Right.
it's like I'm just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I'm this like expert on life or like
Right.
of course I try my best to always
Uh-huh.
be regulated and but I
Yeah.
have triggers too. Like
Yeah.
I have core childhood wounds like I
Yeah.
mean not nothing major, nothing big T or anything, but like I have my little quirks and nuances that
Yeah, of
tick
course.
me and I'm like just because it like I'm studying this stuff doesn't mean that like
Yeah.
I'm immune to life and grief and
Absolutely.
anything, or and I'm always changing and growing. So I'm like, I'm always
Yeah.
trying to figure out what's going on in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, yeah, it's totally normal. I mean, yes, I mean, that definitely comes up a lot. I mean, do I apologize to my husband when I say something sideways, or even if I say something and I don't think it's sideways, but he's like, hey, like, is that
Yeah.
what you meant? And I'd be like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Like, of course I'm gonna,
Yeah.
we get triggered, we're human beings. We have those responses. And then when we don't respond the way we would like to have responded, then we have to have that accountability and go back and,
I know. Yep. But I love that you brought up that too, accountability, because that's one of my core values. And that's what I found most successful because I would say like I'm not yet an expert on relationships. Like even though I am studying it, I've had them. I would say I know what works for me. And of course if I have a client, it's different. It's very,
Yeah.
I'll figure out what works for them. But I found in my healthiest relationships that when there is alignment on core values, like if they, like that's where I feel like the most safe and also the most seen in my relation when we share like a really like as you said accountability. I was like that's like one of my like even if you mess up, like
Yeah.
we're all human, like just own it.
Yeah.
Like and be like, like I'd rather somebody come to me and be like, yeah, like I messed up and like this is how I messed up and I apologize for it. Like how can I make this better? Like, and then versus like lying about it or just not like denying it or something.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, like that makes it worse, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually a really big thing. And when women do come to me and they're like, I don't know if I want to stay in this relationship, that comes up a lot is there's
Mm,
no accountability. They feel unseen. People feel unseen in their relationship because their partner is not accountable, right? So if you go
mm,
10, 20, 30 years without your partner ever being like, hey, my bad.
yeah.
I'm sorry about that. You're of course going to feel unseen, unheard, invalidated. And that is a breeding ground for resentment. And that resentment, that's the thing that will kill your relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like, I mean, I don't, I will, I haven't been. I'm trying to think about thinking back in my personal experience of, uh, um, like if I ever got to the point of resentment with anybody, and I don't think I have. Thankfully, it didn't get to
Oh,
that
you're
point.
lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, like because I know too. I'm sure you're familiar with, and I don't think it's one of them, but I think it could be, considered contempt, but like Gottman's four horsemen of like being big, basically like he's like if these four things show up in your relationship, like he's like basically like your relationship is like dead. I think contempt probably could be similar to resentment. It's contempt,
Absolutely.
criticism,
Withdrawal.
defensiveness, and
Mhm.
stonewalling.
Yeah.
Those are
Okay.
like the four things that they're like he's like if he's like, if you are showing all four of these, like separation or whatever is near,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if somebody's shut down and they're not even talking to you, but yeah, that contempt, you can almost feel that, when
Mm,
somebody's contemptuous towards the other one, there's just like nothing there. They're just angry and bitter and resentful, and it's just kind of oozing out of them. And you can hear it in the comments. That's where you get like the eye rolls and like, oh, you're so
mm,
ridiculous. And I can't, here we
yeah.
go, that contempt.
Mm.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, no, I guess too, also too, what, because actually I'm selfishly thinking, and like, just of people that I know, and what you're describing to me is a lot of, I'm not married yet, but like, like I will say, like, I feel like I don't want to gender label, but sometimes I think common theme, and when you said like seeing unheard and invalidated.
Hmm.
We know as coaches and mental health professionals that like female brains and male brains are different. I mean, they're the same muscle, but they are different. Like, they have nuances. But like, I feel like a common thing with women specifically is that like their men just aren't like as emotionally available and like or not emotionally available as I guess emotionally intelligent. And I'll give you an example of my own experiences with like kind of like a situationship. I remember I was telling this person, like this guy, that like I was like, you don't see me. And he was like, yes, I do. Like, I do see you. You're this, this, this. And I realized after like we kind of had ended the relationship that I meant you don't see me like my emotionally. Like that's how I was speaking. And he
Yeah,
meant like literal, like
right.
seeing me like literally like you're a person. He's like, yeah, like he's like, you're going to school, you're a business owner, you're a coach, like, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no, like no, like that's not like I mean like I was like no, I mean like my emotional side, like you're
yeah,
that I don't feel seen and heard and as you said validated. So I think I find that, and I'm not saying men are good at this. I'm just saying like I feel like there is that disconnect a lot. I'm finding, and I'm hoping that, um, you know, people take note of this because it seems to be
yeah.
a common trend, I guess. I don't want to call it a trend, but a common
Yeah. I
occurrence.
mean, I think that that's true. I think it has to do also with like how we are brought up because
Yes, yes.
still men, boys and men are not taught to be, to recognize their emotions, to express their
Yeah,
emotions. That's
yeah.
a really huge piece of that is like, you know, they learn very young, like, suck it up. I
Yep.
quit
Suppress it.
crying.
Suppress
Yeah.
it. Yep.
I
You
don't
have to
want to
be
hear it,
strong. Yeah. Yep.
and so that's gonna, that is gonna stifle that ability to connect with someone emotionally when you're not able to connect with your own
Own
emotions.
emotions. Yeah.
Whereas women, we're, raised, girls and women are often raised to be like, oh, what does this person need? Take care of those needs first.
hmm
So, you may see like, oh, we read the room. We can tell what's going on, but that's because we've been taught to do that. But there are some groups actually where, like, adult children of alcoholics, male or female, they can read the room like a champ, right? Because that's what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
grew up with was like, oh, my safety depends on being able to know like what mood you're in and how do I need to adjust. So I do think it has a lot to do with like how you're, brought up and what you're taught is okay and what's encouraged and, nurtured in you too.
No, absolutely. And I don't know if you've read the book. I just read it like a month ago, the Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting. I mean, I will say I don't have emotionally immature parent, or I don't think I did. I think I had pretty, pretty emotionally intelligent parents, but I just wanted to read it just to like see where
Yeah.
potentially
It's a great book.
other people's perspectives, and it was very eye-opening. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything revolutionary, but I was like, okay, like, what we've been talking about. We mirror
Yeah.
what we're, exposed to. And
Yeah.
if your parent does not have the emotional capacity to hold your feelings, like that's going to impact you and your relationship. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just like a nice, it was also a very quick, easy read. Like,
Yeah, that's a great book.
yeah, it's very digestible. It's not like psycho, but it's not very, dense. It's a little,
Academic.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
Hmm.
like, yeah, very, readable. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Karen, this has been such an enlightening. I always love talking to fellow relational folks because I always
Yeah.
say, name something you don't have a relationship with, because there aren't many things.
Yeah. Everything. Yep.
Everything. And even if you don't have a relationship with it, that not having a relationship with it is a relationship.
Still a relationship. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I know it's
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yep.
So, and where could people find you if they want to work with you? I know your website is probably the best place.
Yeah, yep. You can learn more about me, how to work with me, a better relationship coaching.com. I have a podcast, A Better Relationship in 5 Minutes.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, on Spotify and Apple and also YouTube, A Better Relationship Coaching. So yeah, and those are the places you can find me quickest.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Karen. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
And
thank
as
you.
usual, everybody, you can find the Feeling and Healing podcast on YouTube as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.